Hello, this is Steve from Bedo's Leatherworks, and today's project is this pair of MAGNANNI shoes. Now they're not too bad. They've seen better days, obviously, and we're just going to try to see if we can resole them, reheels, and then the inside lining. You guys can see that? The heel lining is all torn up, so we're going to replace all that. All right, let's get started. All right, here we go. So we're going to remove the heel and the heel blocks first. Now this heel block, which is that piece right there, is made out of basically paper. Fiberboard. Compressed paper, I don't know how the heck they make it. Just they shred paper and they make that. So it doesn't usually, we're not going to use this one. Although it's not in too bad shape. Most of the time, literally they just break off as you're removing it. Now these shoes are pretty they're pretty cool actually. I like them. They've got they look worn out, right? But they've got a kind of a cool effect of the dye, different tones, and they give it like the surface is kind of different colors, brown, tans. You know, it's got a nice burnished effect. Now the toes are going to be dark when I get done with them. These nails are just holding the sole onto the heel block. And you got other nails. They're supposed to be nailed from the inside, but they're not long enough. Look, you see that? Right there. It's not even an eighth of an inch thick. So what we do now is just kind of push them through to pull them out from the inside. There they are. Sometimes guys will just cut them from the top. Well, from the bottom, I should say, because when you have the shoe upside down, that's the top. But I like to remove them as best as I can. Alright, so let's remove the sole. Now this is called this type of construction, it's called Blake stitched. Okay? Blake stitch basically comes in two parts. You've got the sole unit and you've got the uppers. They bring it together and it gets stitched from the inside of the shoe all the way. So literally we can just, if we cut these stitches here, we can pry the whole sole up. I'm going to try to do that. It's not a Goodyear welted shoe. Although look, they make it look like it's a Goodyear welted shoe, but it's not. I mean that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the type of construction it is. I was going to show off and pull it off my hands, but yeah, well, that didn't work. So what we're going to do first, we're going to put a leather sole on here, and then we're going to put Vibram rubber sole on top like that. Like a little mini lug is what we call it. And there she goes. Those are the two stubborn nails that were in there still. Now we'll pop those through. Now I hammer that. I bring it right on the edge of the last here, because if you hammer it, it's going to hit the last. It's not. You're not going to be able to pull it out from the inside. But if you're hammering it and you feel the last and you move it over just a little bit, then you can get to it. And there she goes. Alright, this is a glue-on welt, right? This is just basically glued on to make it look like it's stitched on. We're going to remove that, clean up the uppers, take the old stitches out, and then we'll go ahead and start putting the sole on. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so once everything is off, the sole, the welt, we're just going to wipe the uppers down. This is a little bit of a turpentine that I use. Just kind of cleans the surface a little bit. Doesn't really remove any dyes or anything. I mean, it's, you know, it's dirty. Now you can't use turpentine on everything. Some leathers are a little bit more delicate than others. Now when I say it doesn't remove the dye, sometimes it will change the finish of the leather. So you got to be careful if you're using it. You got to do it on a small area first, test everything out before you put it on your shoes. Now remember, this is going to dry the leather out, so you're going to apply some moisturizers to the leather. And sometimes I don't finish a job when I first started. Sometimes it'll sit. So it's a good idea to kind of add a little bit of moisturizer so it won't dry out on you. Now this is a Saphir, bottle, but I filled it with Big 4. Big 4 is. Alright, let's see what we got. It's good stuff. Obviously, I use about a gallon, but I use a Saphir also. Just this particular one. I filled it with a Big 4. The Saphir holder. I don't think the guys from Saphir will be too happy. But hey, they're getting their names mentioned here, so they better be happy. Free advertising. What more do they want? Cool. Now, this is the nice and condition. What we're going to start with next is the heel lining. You guys see that? I can never get a good shot of this. Golly. There you go. It's all torn up. You see that? So we're going to start tearing that apart and reinforcing that area and changing the leather. Alright, let's continue. Now usually when I'm working on the heel lining, I don't remove this footbed, okay? But since this is all a part for soles, I might as well move it out of the way. Now I have access to work in the back as much as I can. Also, when we're doing the heel linings on shoes, we just mainly focus on the back of the heel, right? But this one is pretty dried out all the way in the middle of the shoe here. See that hole? So we're going to extend that heel lining from about the arch all the way to the other side. I mean, that's the only way I'm going to be able to cover that hole, because there's no way that just putting the piece in the back of the heel is going to take care of that. I mean, I guess I can just glue that down, right? Flatten that out, but it's still worn out. I mean, it's a shame not to replace that. You're doing all this work. Might as well get to that area also. This is, again, most manufacturers will use paper for their heel counters. This is the heel counter, is that heel stiffener in the back. you have it in the heel and also for the toe. That's what gives it that shape. But after a while, it falls apart. This is paper. So we're going to replace it with a piece of leather, which hopefully it'll be a lot more sturdier than what he's had in the past. Also, this is the reason why you need a shoe horn to put your shoes in, right? When you're wearing your shoes, especially nice quality good shoes, you want them to last for a long time. But if you're slipping your feet in and crushing that back, eventually this is what happens. And this is not a small job to fix all that. So use your shoe horns as you're putting your shoes on. Alright, let's continue. So I want to show you guys something. Now you've got the uppers of the shoe, which is this right here. Well, don't worry about the stain. The stain is it's just thinner. We just put that under to loosen the glue. Then you've got this top piece here, which is like a edge finish. It gives it a nice rounded finish edge trim right there. You see that? The problem is that, you know, when we remove all this, you can't leave that like that. So I've got to remove that piece here, which I started there. From about here to here, I'm going to replace that piece. So when it gets done, it'll look nice and finished like it's supposed to look, just like that. You see? Alright, let's continue. Now this piece of leather, okay, it's a very thin piece of leather, which we're going to make up that top line, okay? It's going to act two parts. You see how the broguings don't have, they're not, you can't see through them obviously, there's a backing to it. Not just that leather, but that backing here. That material is gone, so now you got holes going right through it. So once we put this leather for the top line, it's going to act as a back drop for that broguing holes. Now this little piece that you're looking at here, it's not really recommended to get rid of that because that's basically there structurally. So it gives the back of the heel, back of the shoe some structural support. Because so it doesn't stretch out of shape in the back. Now there's a lot of other reinforcements that the manufacturer uses. This is one of them. Also, it's got like a little bead, like a little, looks like a nylon heavy thread. This gets pretty tricky to do when the shoe's already assembled, you know. Usually this is done when they're making the uppers. Haven't had my coffee yet. I will. Not yet. Alright. I'm just going to fold that over on top of that heavy thread. Alright, if you can see, so once this gets behind the leather pieces, it looks just like it was. Almost, not exactly, but hey, you know what, I can only do so much. I always say I make them look presentable. I can't make them look brand new. I mean, that's impossible. After all, they're worn out shoes. I mean, no matter how you look at it, they're still the same age when you get done with them. But you can make them presentable. Cool. Alright, now see what happens is now, see that piece there, once it gets put into place, it covers the holes of the baroque holes. So it acts as a backdrop of that too. Alright, let's continue. Now this is the leather piece that we're going to use for a heel counter. Okay? Basically it's going to go right in the back of that heel area like that. It's going to give it some sturdiness in the back of the heel here. And then once this gets put in, we were going to cover it with a piece of leather and then put a top stitch on there and you're done. Now, obviously this is not shape of the heel. When manufacturers do this, they heat it up and they have presses, they have shapes, and they press it on there. Gives it a nice shape to the back of the heel. We don't have those machines. So I'm going to wet this leather piece down and I'm going to stretch it in the back of the heel of this last. This is a wooden last. This is what they make shoes out of. This is a very old one. Okay? So once it gets wet, and I'll stretch it and I'll nail it on there, I'll give it some shape. When it dries, we'll put it into the shoe. Okay? Alright, let's continue. I know if I don't show this to you guys, somebody's going to say, oh, you didn't show us when you wet the thingamajigget on there. So I'll show you what I'm doing. Just a matter of wetting that leather piece. And stretching it on here. Now the last isn't exactly the same shape as the shoe, okay? But this will be fine. This is plenty of shape enough, close enough for it to work. So it'll be okay. Alright. As long as you got a general shape, and we'll make it work. Alright, so we're going to let this dry. I'm going to go have breakfast and then I'll continue it after my break. Most of the time I nail it onto the last, but there's a metal piece there. That's when you're making the shoe, and then when you're here and then you're hammering some nails. See if I can put this inside, maybe you'll get a better idea. Be careful, there's other nails. When you're hammering some nails through here to secure this piece onto the footbed, so those nails hit that metal plate and then they bend. It doesn't go through the whole shoe. They hit on that metal plate and then they bend. That's what that's there for. Okay. Oh, I swear there's in there. Hey, finally came out. Now I'm not doing all this hammering just to piss somebody off, you know that, right? I'm actually working. Alright. And we're going to let that sit. Once it dries, can't even talk. I'm so hungry. And no coffee. Once it dries, it'll be nice and stiff, and once we assemble it to the shoe, it'll give it some nice sturdiness in the back of the heel. Alright, let's continue. Nice, right? Give some kind of a shape. All you got to do is glue it into the shoe. Got to disassemble some more. Come on now. Now once this is glued in there, it'll be nice and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. Many, many years of wear with no issues whatsoever. Now this is not, I don't want to toot my own horn, but this is a big job when it comes to heel counter replacement. Most people don't do this. This is complete, like, you know, disassembly of the shoe. And most people just, maybe they put it right on top of it, or they just don't do it, period. It's a little bit too high, so we're going to have to take it down just a little bit. Now see how thick that is? So I'm going to have to sand that a little bit to make it almost to a 0 so it doesn't feel the back of the heel. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so at this stage, we've got the piece inside. Yeah, see that? So now it gives it a nice support in the ankle area right here. Okay? Now we're going to have to cover that with the heel lining. So we have this piece, the old piece, basically is some sort of a template, right? We'll cut a piece of leather. Okay? Out of this hide right there. It's dark brown, very similar to what it was there. And then what we're going to do, we skive the edges. Skiving means thinning it down. You don't want it too thick, on, especially right here where the foot may rub in that high spot. Okay? This is what it looked like once we cut it. And then skived. Now, the piece is not, it's not flat. It's curved. You see the curve? So we got to give it some sort of a shape. So leather stretch is pretty good. So basically, I just kind of do this on my last. It gives it a little bit of curve. You don't need too much, just a little bit. And that's it basically. That'll take care of that. And then we'll go ahead and secure this in there. There's a lot of details in this job, you know. Unfortunately, it's got to be done because this is the backbone of the shoe. Well, literally the back of the shoe. If this is not secure, then it's not really worth doing the rest of the work to it, you know. But this is extreme. I mean, usually it's not this bad. We don't have to go through all this. Even this heel lining here is what we call the heel lining. It's not this large, you know, it's just a little piece in the back, maybe about 3-4 inches. But there was so much wear on it, so we have to make it larger to cover all that. Now you see I put a little notch right there? That's the center of the back, right? So that's how I'm going to line, that's how I'm going to line that. You want that to be straight in the right spot anyway. And once it's glued, you don't really want to take everything apart. You know what I mean? Once it's in there, it's in there. That's it. It's not going anywhere. Like that. Ah, this gets sticky, man. Alright, almost there. Got to be careful not to leave any wrinkles in that back of the heel, or else it's going to rub on the back of the heel. Awesome. That was looking good. That. You see that? Just the lighting's not too great here, huh? Alright, well it's done. Now we get to glue this footbed right there. Stitch the top. Then we can focus on the uppers a little bit and then start constructing the bottom. Alright, let's continue. So what we're going to do now, we're going to tint this a little bit, a dark brown like it is originally. You see how darker it is on the bottom area, around the toe, around the broguing a little bit. So we're going to give that, since the welt is off, I can get into the nooks and crannies there. Oh, almost camera malfunction there. All right. We'll let that dry, and then we're gonna start putting the welt on. Put foam right here. So I'm gonna put cork right here, sole, and then the rubber commando sole, which is also called a mini lug soles. Heel base, heels, and we're done. Well, we still got to condition and polish the uppers and make it look good. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so once we place the welt in place, positioned it in place, we want to make sure that we've got still that size exactly how it was. So that's why you save the old sole, right? Now this is your template, what the welt needs to be, because basically the welt, you're going to glue it on here. You can glue it a little bit wider, narrower. It's going to change the shape of the shoe, not the feel of the shoe, because the inside doesn't change, just the exterior wise. This, you're not going to have this nice shape right here. Alright, phone call came in and the video cut off. So as I was saying, you're going to lose the shape right here if you're not careful. So once we have this in position, we haven't hammered it down yet, so we're just going to double check, make sure everything's still exact same as it was. Looks very good. And we've got the heel also. Just want to make sure that size is good. It's a little bit wider, but I think it'll be okay. Now we can hammer it in the position so it doesn't move. Cover your ears. Beautiful. Not bad, not bad. So we're going to fill all this in with cork. So see all the uneven cavity here, one's higher, lower. You don't want the foot as it's stepping down to feel all those edges there. So once the cork goes in, that'll be nice and flush here. Then we can go put the sole on top of it. Alright, let's continue. This is a Master's glue. What the heck is this covered for? I don't know why I folded that. This is it's good glue. Good people, good company. I'm happy with them. I use a lot of it. Now this particular leather is not JR leather, it's prime leather, and since we're going to cover the front part, let's see where the sole's at. Since we're going to cover that, it's not really smart to put the JR leather and then cover it up. Save a little bit of money using this one. This is a little bit less of a cost, a little bit less of a quality. JR is top of the line. It's very dense leather, but since we have this on top of this, it doesn't really make sense to use JR on the bottom. So we went with we call this the house leather is what we call this. But it's a pretty durable leather. It's not bad. Not a bad quality. All right, let's continue. Alright, it's coming along, slowly but surely. Alright. This machine is called the 5-in-1. Where'd it go? Right here. Basically what it does is, it presses the welt to the sole, okay? It skives the leather here, cuts it here, but I don't usually like using this presser foot because it leaves marks on the bottom of the sole. But since we're going to put the rubber sole on top here, I don't care about those marks. So just in the shank area, I'm not going to use that. Okay. Just the back area, I'll use that because the heel covers that. Alright. See those marks? See, I don't like those marks on there. Once we do that, we'll put in a press right here. This comes in different shapes. Narrow, wide, left, right. So we're going to do this side wide. Push it in position and hit the two buttons. That'll stay there for about a minute or two, and that'll disengage by itself. Then we've got that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stitch this new heel lining on. Okay. Well, let's go do it now while the other one's waiting. All right. You guys see that? Real professional of me, huh? All right. I don't really care. It is what it is. I'm not going to get any awards for my videography, that's for damn sure. Something's going on with this machine. See, it's messing up the thread right there. I did this on my other job too. I was trying to record something and I didn't get a chance to look at it, but it's fraying the thread. I'm guessing it's the wrong amount of pressure on the thread, or maybe a wrong needle size. I don't know. I just didn't get a chance from last time to look at it. But this is just a waste of time to rethread it, and so when I get a chance, I have to kind of look it over and make some adjustments, or else every time I try to stitch something, it's going to start screwing it up and making a mess. Well, it didn't even make a mess here, but still, it's just more time to rethread the machine and clean up the threads. Cool. We're getting done. Slowly but sure. Oh, look at this. What the heck is that? Oh no, it's the arm of the... Sorry about that, guys. Alright, whatever. It's the tripod thing. Hey man, this is the best I can do. Alright, let's continue. Okay, so this is a Vibram mini lug is what it's called. Some people call this commando sole, right? It's got a straight line right at the shank there. Now, the original sole has that V shape. We'll wait till the compressor goes off. It's gonna go on all night. Anyway, so I thought that I'd make this sole matching the original sole as best as I can anyway. Okay? So now, remember at the beginning I was telling you guys this is a Blake stitch shoe. When I put the sole on, I'm going to stitch everything together from the inside of the shoe, okay? But before we do that, I want to secure this sole here now. So if the original sole... I never find a pen when I need a pen. I got millions of pens, only when I need one I can't find one. Now, the original sole, the stitch was approximately right here. Okay? So we're going to stitch this about 3/8 of an inch on the inside. So in the future, when the sole does wear down, when it gets removed, the sole is still secured from the inside. So it's a double stitch. One won't be visible. The other one will be stitched on top of this leather here, on top of the Vibram sole, all the way around. Alright, let's continue. So this is the new leather heel base. We're going to replace this fiberboard with this. Okay? Now, I always like to nail these together before I put them on the shoe. Now these are, you know, a couple of layers of leather, and sometimes they do come loose and they separate. Okay, so I'd rather take this opportunity to nail it together before I put it on the shoe. I mean, I'm going to nail the heel base from inside of the shoe to the heel base and the top lift, but that's not securing all this pieces together. This way, it's not going anywhere. It's a very tight bond between all three of them, and the nails make it super tight where it's not going to allow it to separate as the guy wears it for years to come. Let's continue. Nice and stitched. Nice and tightly stitched. And this can get a little tricky because you've got to be able to center the pattern right on the sole. And if it's off a little bit, it's not good. Even this V right here, see, it doesn't look centered to that pattern right there, you see? But that's the only way you could cut it. If you're following these lines right here, if you bring it, you know, to the middle, that's where it meets. Right there. Because one's a little lower than the other one. If this was a little bit higher, this piece right here, this pattern, if this was a little bit higher this way, and that line would have been dead center to the sole. But that's not important. I'm going to show you guys what is important in a minute. Alrighty. I'm just pressing the welt together here, getting rid of the air pockets, like we did with the 5-in-1 earlier. Alright, I'm going to press this and I'm going to come back, show you guys what I have in mind in finishing like the original sole. Alright, let's continue. So, we have the sole on, right? Now, visually when you look at a sole like this, you see the ridges on the side, right? That makes it more of a like a casual shoe. It's got the lug soles on there, right? So now remember the original one, you see how it's kind of shaved off right at the edge. So visually when you're looking at it, you don't see too much of the lug there, right? So this is what we're going to duplicate on the new shoe. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut some of that off around the edges. Now remember I told you the placement of the sole is very important, right? This needs to be even, same width as that. Now I think from the looks of it, this is a little bit wider, so that's the best I could center it. I mean, I think it'll be okay. Visually it's not bad looking. It's pretty much centered. So we're going to come in here, mark it about 3/8 of an inch. We're going to score with a knife from the top and the sides. Get rid of those ridges here until the lowest part of the sole. It's a little tricky to do. Well, marking it is not tricky, but cutting it and making it work. Now, some manufacturers do have these soles already this style, like they're cut already like that. But I don't have them, so I have to improvise. Again, we mark the sole. Okay. I'm just following the lines that I made, guidelines. Get a little closer here. I'm going to come across here. Cut those off. Okay. I know the compressor is getting a little annoying. I know somebody's going to say, hey man, you got a hole in your compressor. Air's leaking up. I know, I know, I know. I appreciate your concern. One of these days, I will get to it. So you guys can see what I'm doing, right? So after cutting this right here like that, all the way around, we're going to sand it smooth. Now, this is what it's going to look like. Ba-dow. Can I see that? And I stitched it. Oh, I forgot to tell you. That's the second stitch. Remember we talked about earlier? I haven't had my coffee yet. Yes, I will take a coffee break. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera. When I come back, we'll attach the heel, we'll do the insole, we'll polish the uppers up, and then we should be done. All right, let's continue. All right, so we've got the heel block and heel lift on. Now, I usually... Oh, this damn compressor. It never fails. As soon as I start talking, it comes on. I don't care. All right. So what I normally do, I attach the top lift to the heel block. Okay. Then I sand this flush, make it nice and smooth, and then attach it to the shoe. Now, what you got to do is that you got to give it balance, right? Sometimes if the heel block is not right, the shoe will teeter-totter, and you don't want to do that. So before you go ahead and glue the heel onto the, before you glue it, you make sure the balance is correct, then you glue it on. And then you get a nice, beautiful finish right here. No rough sand marks or anything. So now, we're going to nail basically from inside of the shoe, kind of a, I can't even talk anymore. We're going to nail it from inside of the shoe, securing the heel block and the heel to the shoe. Now, we are using threaded nails, or some people call it ring shank nails. Yes, some of my viewers educated me on that. We in this industry, we call it threaded nails because it's got little grooves on there, and man, once it's on, all right, let's back up a little bit. Once it's nailed in, it's very difficult to remove. Man, I do need my coffee. That's it. After I nail this, I'm going to take a coffee break. I mean, we're almost done. We are almost there. I think that the edges turn out pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Looks very cool. All right, let's continue. All right, we're done with another project. I chose to show you guys from this angle here because you can really see the colors. They're really popping. Beautiful. It's a beautiful shoe. I gave them new insoles. MAGNANNI Recrafting USA. Also, stamp that. I stamped only one shoe, not the other one. I don't know why. I think it turned out real nice. All right, let's continue. All right, well, thank you for joining me on this project. I really appreciate it. couple of things I want to say thank you to a couple of viewers. One is Dennis Barnes. Back in April, he sent me 2 bags of coffee. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Dennis. And also the other one is Brian Burke. Last week he sent me a bag, and it was really cool. I appreciate it also. I'll enjoy them definitely. So this particular project, this was a $435 job. This was a lot of work. The back of the heel, I think, consumed most of my time to replace that stiffener in the back, and then the heel lining, and then the top piece right here. There was a lot of little details that were involved in that, and I think it turned out really nice. I know some people are saying, well, you could have bought a new pair of shoes, but you know what? I'm not going to question the customer's decision. Now, I will, however, if something is not worth it, I will definitely let them know, hey, you know what? Maybe you should save your money on something else. But these are very nice shoes, and the way I made them, the construction is going to last them for years and years to come. Even though if the soles and heels wear out, you can still get those top pieces repaired and replaced, and they'll still, the structure of the shoe will still be solid, so it'll last for many years to come. All right, guys, anytime you have a question, please go to About, and there's all my information, my shop name, address, Facebook, Bedo's Leatherworks, IG, Bedo's Leatherworks, Bedo's at yahoo.com, my shop phone number. Anytime you guys have anything to ask, questions, email me, please, so I can answer them, so I won't miss them. And also, one more thing, if you have a mail order that you want to mail in, look at this here. Where'd it go? Ah, right there. Shipping form. I'm getting really high tech, guys. So this is the shipping form I'd like for you to fill out, if you don't mind. This way I can keep track of whose items are whose, and we don't have any issues as far as things are, getting misplaced and putting off aside, because I get stuff mailed in with no information whatsoever inside. I don't know who the world belongs to. So please make sure, if you're going to mail in something, just shipping form right there. Click on that and fill that out. All right, thank you. Let's continue. Okay, I'm done. Again, I want to thank you guys very much. It's been a pleasure for me to make these videos and to show you guys how I do things. To me, it's normal. I do it as day-to-day life, But I get so many comments saying that then the things that I do are really incredible and really cool. I think so. I think so too. It's really neat, But sometimes I forget because I do it day in and day out. So anyway, I hope you share this video, comment, anything you want to say. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, take care. Let's continue.